What's up, Team Liquid fans? Imagine that in 2021 you interacted with several of your favorite Team Liquid content creators or athletes for hours, days, or maybe even weeks. How awesome would it be to have a page in your Liquid Plus profile where you can actually see what game, streamer, or athlete you interacted the most with? That's right, I'm talking about the season review of our very first season in Liquid Plus. Back in November, this was the initial concept that I pitched to the Liquid Plus team in creating an actual landing page in Liquid Plus. So in this behind the scenes video, I want to show you how we actually started the project, what the initial concept was, some ideas that we killed, the end result that we actually used, and you can actually now see if you browse to the experience overview page in Liquid Plus and navigate to your personal season review page. But I also want to show you maybe a small look into the future and what we can do more. I'm not even sure if I'm allowed to show this what we can do more screen, but hey, this is my video, right? So back in November, I heard season review for the first time regards to Liquid Plus, and the initial idea was to do something with emails and create awesome social media posts. But I was like, well, I think we can actually do more. How cool would it be to actually have a landing page in your Liquid Plus profile? So I hopped on a call with Luke, and Luke is the lead front-end developer in Liquid Plus. And we were like, well, what can we actually do more? And how can we make something really small and lovable and ship it as soon as possible to our fans? And that's basically where everything started. So I created a new Slack channel, invited all these different stakeholders of Liquid Plus, and actually typed the initial pitch that I basically read in the beginning of this video. So the page where you're currently looking at is basically a concept design in Figma. Figma is our design tool, and this is actually the first concept that I sent in the Slack channel to basically sell my idea. So there are a few key ingredients that are really important if you want to create a season and review landing page. First of all, it needs to be shareable. Second of all, it needs to be snackable. And third but not least, it needs to tell you something extra that you actually can't see on your status page within Liquid Plus. So we said to make it short and snackable, we need to make sure that we have some minor navigation, maybe a cool leading image, which would be awesome, or could be something around your status or your profile. And then we said, well, maybe it would be cool to actually thank our fans and do a simple word from our fans and say, well, thank you for being so awesome, and let's hop into the next season. Then we said, well, maybe we can do something cool with statistics. So we start with some minor statistics. For instance, hours of content watched, the amount of points that everyone earned, the amount of pizzas that all the community bought together, and we can maybe drop it off with the most watched game in this occasion. It will be Valorant. And then we can basically top it off with your personal season 1 numbers, where we could say something about the status that you've earned, the amount of experiences that you did, completed quests that you've done, and maybe the points that you've earned in the first season. And last but not least, we could actually close the page with, hey, don't forget to spend your points, but because there is a point reset coming up, be sure to actually spend your points that you have left. Click here for more information, and we could redirect you, for instance, to Discord or to another landing page, or at least to a more informative page where you can read everything about the point reset. This design, and it's super hard to explain it because there are a lot of flaws in it already when I actually started and at the top of the page, but that doesn't really matter, I think. So based on this pitch and concept, the team said, well, this is super awesome. What do we have to do to actually make this work? So during the process, I had a bunch of calls with other designers, with front-end developers, with back-end developers, actually with our data team that provides the data for this landing page. And we said, well, how can we maybe visualize this page and make it come to life? So that's where basically the first visual design come in. So what we said, well, it is a page that lives within Liquid Plus, so that's why it has the default Liquid Plus navigation. But how cool would it be to actually like team it a bit around the team and status and tier that you ended the season with? So imagine that you made it to Elite, how cool would it be to actually show the green team and actually show the green background and actually show an avatar. I think this is not the correct avatar that belongs to the Elite tier, but you get the idea. Make sure that it's not only gold and not only blue, but it's also themed to your personal season review. So we still have the anchor navigation. We add a button to actually share your season on Twitter. Then we had some generic statistics about the season in general. So how much points there were earned, how many pizzas there were bought for our staff and our developers. Thanks for the pizzas, by the way. And that's something more. So something about your personal leading top game that you've watched. So how many minutes did you watch the game? What was the game? And then maybe a super awesome artwork that our graphics design department made throughout the season to say, well, this is Valorant. And if you had, for instance, another game, for instance, CSGO or League of Legends, you would see a totally different artwork also made by our graphics team. And then, of course, your season 1 statistics, and then highlight the different parts, which you can maybe also share differently. This was also I think it's still a cool idea, but it wasn't really like working. Like, imagine that you've collected a bunch of points, but you've forgot in the first season to actually connect your Twitch account. And through the season, you found out that you actually had a lot of views on Twitch, but in your season review, those Twitch interaction moments didn't count up to your points because you haven't connected your account yet. How cool would it be that we can actually say, well, be sure that you can also connect your Twitch account because you missed a lot of points for not connecting your Twitch account. And then, of course, ending it up with spend your points before they reset. Well, so if I look back to this design, there are a couple of things that don't really add up. So also when I look back to the review moments, we were like, well, it's super awesome that we show Elite and share your season and some navigation and some other super cool content. The only thing that bothers me as a UX designer is that the moment that you can actually see your statistics is all the way down here. And with that in mind, this page is all about your personal season review, right? So we had to find a way in how we can actually make sure that this is higher on the page. I think this was still cool. It is still something that we said, well, super lovable, that we actually thank our fans and wish them all the best in season 2. And for the last section, spend your points before they reset. This is basically a section that we killed during the process because we were like, well, this is a super awesome idea, but it also deserves a lot of love and a lot of working hours to actually make it work. Maybe we should kill this section for now so we can actually launch it after the season 1. Because if we launch it after season 1, so it's currently season 2 when you're actually looking at your season review, but also it's also season 2 while I actually record this video. This doesn't make any sense anymore because you already spent your points. If you forgot to spend your points, please send me a message because I'm sure we can work something out if you forgot to spend your season 1 points. So with the feedback and these initial ideas, we basically went into another design. I just picked some highlighted designs. There are, I think, 20 or 30 different designs between all those steps. But I wanted to make sure that this video doesn't turn up in a video of 40 minutes. So the next design is actually the design that is super close to what you're currently looking at if you go to your personal season review. So what we said is that we killed a lot of things, but we also add a lot of things. And I think the gray area and the super thin line of being a super good product designer and having a super awesome team to work with is say, well, maybe we need to kill some darlings to make sure that we can actually make the page better for our fans. So this is actually the moment where we said, well, maybe we need to kill the theming in the website itself or in the landing page because of complexity reasons. I can create a whole different video about the complexity reasons and why we, for instance, picked A over B. But let's not do that in this video. So what we said, well, I think it's cool to actually mention the person that's actually looking to this page, thanking for an awesome season in one review, and then directly show him the most important stats. So show him that we the amount of points, spending points that they earned, the most watched player. For me, that's for instance average Jonas. If we add all those statistics up, how high are you on the ladder of being a top fan on Liquid Plus? Could be, for instance, top 25. Could also be top 2%. I actually saw some data of people that I was like, well, these guys are really fans of Liquid Plus, and it's so awesome to see. And as for most interacted with, for me, that's for instance Mendo, but it could also be someone else, for somewhere else, of course. And then, so we started basically with the short and snackable data as soon as possible. And then we said, well, I think this is a good idea to show the top game that you actually follow, the top game that you earned the most points with. So for instance, for me now it's Valorant, but it can also be that it's, for instance, PUBG, Battleground. It would all fit, and if for instance a title, for instance with Counter-Strike, which can actually be Counter-Strike Global Offensive, then it would actually grow from the center. So it will always fit basically in your screen. Let's put it back to Valorant real quick. And we could basically tag it with and say, well, this is your most watched game and you belong to the top 75% of people that actually have this game as their most interactive game. And then we basically close up with the initial introduction that we said. So we basically flipped the whole page and said, well, normally you would say, well, just do the generic information first and make it more specific along the way. But we basically flipped the interaction model and said, well, we make it super specific first, and then we maybe abstract the information more to generic information and thank everyone for having an awesome season 1 and welcome them actually in season 2. This is also the point in time where I had a chat with Brian, our copywriter at Liquid Plus and Team Liquid. You've probably read a bunch of articles of him already. He's a super awesome guy, and he actually helped me out with the copywriting of the landing page. So thanks again, Brian, for that. I think it's a really awesome project. So if you now navigate to your experience overview page on Liquid Plus, open your personal season review, this is actually what you will see. But then with your own stats, of course, which I think is still super awesome. So what we said, and now I'm going to the part that I'm not sure that I can share it, but I'm gonna do it anyway. This is what we actually wanted to do, and I think this is also something that we can potentially line up for the second season, or maybe not if things changed. But this is basically our step on the horizon where we say, wow, how awesome would it be to actually create this? And with this version where you're currently looking at right now is basically the version where we said, well, it's maybe not the step on the horizon and actually the thing that we want to create in the future, but it's a super lovable thing and small thing where we can maybe set up a lot of happy faces on our fans' faces. So this is actually something that we could, for instance, do next year. So the initial concept of the page is still the same, but we enrich the content a bit. So the theme background is back again, which is super awesome because it gives the page a whole different dynamic if we add themed coloring to it. And this is also something super cool. So this is something that you've seen in the very first concept of the visual design already, but we basically pasted it back and we said, well, how can we make it better and cooler? So let's say you ended up with a tier on heroic. How cool would it be to show directly an initial badge with, hey, thank you for the season, super awesome, Jordy, and you belong to the top 43%. How cool would it be to actually share this on Twitter or download your profile? So what does downloading your profile and sharing on Twitter means in this scenario? So sharing on Twitter or downloading your profile actually means that we could create an awesome concept where you say, well, this is a digital item, this is a card that we created, and to make sure that you can basically show off your fandom to your other fans or your other friends, you can basically share your season review, your season 1 card on social media. So imagine that the most important stats that you have in your season review, we combine them into a JPEG card, and you can share it on Twitter or download it to, I don't know, store it somewhere, save it somewhere, print it, hang it up on a painting on your wall, or do something cool with it. You're basically the owner of your personal stats, which is, I think, still super awesome, and is something that we're gonna research for sure. And the rest of the page is actually a bit of the same. The only thing that basically changed is that instead of tags, we said, well, maybe we need to explain what's happening a bit more. So instead of say, well, Valorant is your top game and you made it to the top 75%, we basically try to explain why this is your top game. So for instance, you watch Valorant for 271 hours and send 982 chat messages on Twitch, for instance. That made you to the top 2% of this game. How awesome is this to actually know that not only Valorant is your top game, but also that it is this is the reason why it is your top game. And that's basically what we did with all the other statistics, which I think is really awesome. So we try to explain the other statistics, and we basically end up again with more generic information. And this is basically what happened. To see it at a glance, this is basically what happened. And if we navigate to how I actually made sure that Luke and the development team can work with it. So we made a design on different breakpoints. So this is, for instance, on desktop. We did something for tablet and for mobile. Came up with a bunch of different interaction states. And actually, together with the graphics team, we looked into, hey, what awesome graphical work can we use for the different games? So what can we use for Valorant, Counter-Strike, etc., etc. So if you're part of a specific top game, you will see a specific artwork that is more generic from the game maker, or it's maybe more specific to our graphic designers who made the graphic themselves, basically. And that's basically how we set up the whole project. So yeah, this is basically it. I'm now going to round up this video, I think. So if you like what I basically made in this video, be sure to at least leave a comment so I actually know that you like it. You can also just give a thumbs up. I don't really care how you want to do it. I just want to make sure that if you like this video, please let me know in any way possible. So it can be through Discord, through Twitter, in the YouTube reaction. Because if you guys actually like what I do with these like behind the scenes videos and actually go through a bit of the design process and see where we come from and actually what we created, then we can maybe do these videos more often. Because I did, I think, 50 or 60 takes on the first part of the video, but the part where I actually show the design went actually pretty well. So thanks again for watching, and I can't wait to see your awesome stats in season 2, and I also can't wait what we can create for you for the second season. Have a nice season, everyone, and I'll catch you later. Bye-bye.